Hello, beautiful beings, and welcome to the podcast episode of today. This is a head noise episode. This is where I answer all your head noise questions. This is where I'm questioning if you're on crack. This is where I'm questioning if you know what you're doing with your life. This is where I ask you the hard questions so you can come to the resolution yourself. And what I mean by that is I think, obviously this is my opinion, kind of backed by also a bit of research as well. It's more than it's a loaded opinion, but I believe that one of the best ways of coming to a resolution is by asking yourself a whole bunch of questions, by really being able to critically analyze, not just getting someone's advice, not just getting someone to say, this is what you need to do. So while these head noise questions are me giving you advice, I also want to fill you up with questions to ask yourself. I want you to ask yourself questions that you've never really asked yourself before, to be like, wow, I've never looked at it in that way. I've never thought about it in that way. I've never realized that angle, which now has given me more clarity. Because by the end of these advice questions, whether you're the person that wrote the question or whether you're listening to this being like, that fucking applies to my life too, I want you to feel like you made the decision for yourself, not that I made the decision for you, okay? And I think that that's kind of what the best psychologists do as well. They steer you to finding the answer for yourself by asking the right questions. So it's kind of a discussion. I rarely, unless it's like a really fucking toxic situation, I rarely give you a black and white answer of what you have to do. I try and get you to ask yourself as many questions as possible. So without delaying any further, let's get straight into the episode of today. Someone said, and sometimes the titles of these are just brilliant. So if you are sending in your voice messages or your emails, I love a good title just for fucking shits and giggles. You don't have to, but I really love an entertaining title. So good times. This one is Trying to Reinvent Myself in My 20s.
Hi Alexis, if I could title this voice message, I would call it Trying to Reinvent Myself in My 20s, or Invent Myself, if you will. I recently re-listened to your podcast with Robin Sharma, and I just had a lot of points that came up again for me that I wanted to talk about. But basically, I'm just wanting some advice on how to find joy and comfort in like the current moment that I'm in. I just feel like I've hit a point in my 20s where I feel like I've kind of plateaued a little bit. I've done some travel, I've lived away from home, I finished my degree, and now I'm working. It's my first year working as a nurse in an emergency department. So it's pretty full on, but I just feel like I always dreamed of getting to this point, and now I'm here, and I'm just finding that I'm not really actually appreciating the point that I'm at in life, and I'm always chasing something more, which I do have goals. You know, I'm currently living with a parent in an area that I don't particularly enjoy. So, like I have a lot of financial goals and life goals, but I find that I'm still lacking. I don't know if it's the social connection because I'm so busy with my new role. But yeah, I'm just wanting some advice on how to find joy and comfort in the current moment that I'm in when I've done so much work to get here, if that makes any sense. Thank you so much.
Awesome question. It makes so much sense. I was actually having this conversation recently with one of my friends about this, you know, not wanting to always live in the future. And that's the thing when it comes to goals as well. I'm all for goals, fucking love goals. We need to have goals. We need to be growing, whatever. But you also don't want your entire existence to be focused around your goals, because goals are in the future. So it's finding that balance of, I want to be working towards my goals because growth is important. Growth equals happiness. When I see evolution and change in myself, I start to value myself more. I respect myself more, all these things. But at the same time, I need to balance that and marry that with an enjoyment of the present moment, because happiness also primarily exists in the little moments throughout the day. It's not winning the lotto. It's not this one big event that happens. It's not your graduation day, your wedding day. While all those things are big moments that are really impactful in your life, they're not the things that make you an overall happy person. And the reason we know this is because you can look at people that have achieved these major milestones who are fucking miserable with their life, okay? So the happy people, when you look around and you say, who is genuinely happy? Why are they happy? Okay. And it's often the ones that can find joy in the smaller things in their life, that find joy in the in-between moments, in those interactions. So my advice for you, because I guess what's also really hard is that you have worked really hard to get to this point in your life, and there's other things that you want to work towards. So you're set up very well, okay? It might not feel like it right now, but your setup is very good because you're kind of proving to yourself that when you set out to do something, you can achieve it. You've also ticked off many things in your life that you've earned for yourself, that you've wanted to do. You've traveled, you've done all these things. So tick, 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 tick. You're now in a position where you're like, I'm just not really like thrilled or enjoying myself. I'm not completely dissatisfied. It's not a depression. It's not anhedonia. I just want to enjoy my life a bit more. So ask yourself, what am I doing right now that makes me less satisfied than what I was doing in the past? What are the things that are contributing to me feeling less satisfied? Is it there's not enough adventure in my life? Is it the monotony of my life? Do I feel that I'm actually burnt out? Because you said you're very busy. So, and not necessarily to the extent of burnout, but do I feel like I'm stretching myself quite thin? So I'm not finding balance in my life. Was I having more enjoyment, life satisfaction before I was in this full-time job because I had better balance? Is it that I'm less connected to people around me? Is it that I'm not doing fun things? Like I'm not doing those spontaneous fun things that I used to do, like the random morning coffee or that random rock climbing afternoon with my friend or all these like weird random shit which really build up a fun and colorful life. Am I doing any of that? Like, why is it that I felt that I had better life satisfaction and I didn't really question it 2 years ago or 3 years ago, whenever it was versus now? What are the major factors that are different? And a lot of the time it comes down to I've kind of focused so much on these external goals like a career that all the little things like the little interactions and the little fun moments and prioritizing fun and spontaneity has gone out the window. So I would go so far as to say that that might be the problem for you, but ask yourself those questions so you can come to that resolution, because I don't think my advice here is going to be anything around you needing growth, you needing purpose, because you seem to have those things. I think you're probably lacking a little bit in this connection side of things. Because, my 3 pillars of happiness are growth, connection, and purpose. But, you're doing things to grow, you're doing all of that. So I want you to start thinking, where can I start having unattached fun? And what I mean by unattached fun is I don't want you to think, hey, what's a hobby that then I can turn into a side hustle, or what's just without attaching yourself to the outcome, how can I have fun again? Like a child has fun, like my early 20s had fun. And fun might look different to you now, because it might not be, well, I can't get trashed every weekend because of all these factors that it's just not, whatever. Or I can't spend so much time doing this hobby that I used to dedicate all this time to because I just don't have the time. But how can you bring fun into your life? What are you doing to enjoy those pockets throughout the day? For example, for me, if I have a big day, I'm very tempted to sit on the couch and do absolutely nothing because I'm tired, right? I'm drained, I'm tired. But what I often do is, okay, I need to have fun with my afternoon. So I'll put on my favorite playlist. I'll go on a walk in my favorite way of getting there. I'll go to the shops. I'll buy my favorite ingredients, and then I'll cook one of my favorite meals while watching a rom-com. That's fucking fun. I really enjoy it. And then as I'm doing it, I'm loving it. I'm just like, I'm here for it. I'm thrilled. Or I'm watching replays of qualifying for the Formula One or whatever the fuck it is. Or I think I've got 1 hour. Why don't I just grab my favorite book, 1 hour, and go and sit at my favorite cafe, buy a $4 coffee, $4.50 coffee now, I feel they are. Sit down and fucking read and take it all in, okay? It's those moments, I'm telling you, it is those moments that are going to make you feel happier. But you need to be asking yourself these questions, because it's not about, you don't need to be pursuing it. You're already doing all of that. So don't throw yourself deeper into the things that you're already doing, because you're already ticking off that box, and that's actually going to stress you out even further. Your thing right now is not about chasing goals harder. It's not about being more committed. You're already doing that. It's about finding spontaneous moments of fun. And if you can include other people in that, it's going to be even better. Hopefully that helped. Thank you so much for sending that through. All right. Finding myself, this one's called.
So I feel like I I've just been in an absolute mess with the people that I choose. I've been in very toxic, volatile relationships too. Two very toxic, volatile relationships. Then I went out with someone, he cheated on me, and no matter how horrible people be to me, I feel like I just always see the good in them. And yes, it's a blessing to see the good in people, but it is also a curse sometimes. And I just want to know, why do I do this? I know I'm a good person. I love hard. I just don't love the right people. I know one day that I will find the one, but I need to find myself first. And I just don't know how to go about doing this. I've been journaling, I've been meditating, I've been listening to podcasts, trying to get my head around it, but I just seem to be in the same patterns and find myself in this rut every time.
Okay, awesome question. I feel that many of the listeners listening in can relate on some level to that. So the first thing that I want to tackle in what you said was that you always find the good in people, and like that could be it's a blessing and it's also a curse. There is nothing wrong with finding the good in people. I think most people on this planet have a very good side to them. But I know many good people who are shit partners, or like good people at work who are really generous with their time and kind, but shit dads or shit whatever. Like, you know, like I think you can see the good in someone, but that doesn't mean they're good for you. That doesn't mean they're good enough for you. So this is where your boundaries and self-respect need to be elevated significantly. You don't have to change seeing the good in people. That's the beauty of it. My grandmother was the same. It's actually one of my favorite traits in my grandmother, and she's no longer with us, but that's one of the things when I sing her praises and I describe her to other people. That's a trait that I say. She always managed to see the good in people. She was so positive. It was like such a breath of fresh air that instead of saying something negative about someone she met, she was able to be like, but, and always see the good in people. So you don't have to change that about yourself. I actually think that's a beautiful trait in somebody, to identify the good in other people, because you also have better interactions when you do that. However, if you're seeing the good in people but ignoring the other things, then you are throwing yourself under the bus. That's where the problem comes, because seeing the good in people as a standalone trait, I actually really like. I really like that, and it makes you just a happier person in general. The issue, so you don't have to change that. The issue here is I'm choosing to only see the good, but I'm ignoring the red flags, or I'm ignoring the behavior that I know is not going to align with me, or I'm ignoring the selfish acts that isn't conducive to a healthy partnership, or I'm ignoring the same behaviors that I've been through before because this person is showing me validation, or they're showing me warmth or love or something that I'm craving. So you got to ask yourself, why am I ignoring these things? Why? There's a reason. And one of the reasons is probably because you feel like you need someone in your life in order to feel validated or in order to feel loved. Okay? You can't provide that for yourself, so you look for it in somebody else. And then you get stuck in this loop feeling like, if I need this in someone else, beggars can't be choosers. I'm going to only focus on the good things about this person. You know that there's bad things going on. It's there in the subconscious, but you're not bringing it to the forefront because you don't want to admit it to yourself. Because if you admit it to yourself, then you're going to be alone and lonely, and you feel like you're not good enough and it's not going to be okay. But unfortunately for you and for everyone else listening in the same position, you have to do the hard work first before you can reap the benefits. And the hard work here is allowing yourself to be alone, because you have to teach yourself what the minimum standard is, okay? Because if you have a minimum standard for how you treat yourself, for what you're willing to put up with, and this goes for all relationships, you can't have a standard for how your future partner treats you, but allow your friends to talk to you like you're a piece of shit, okay? This is a standard across the board. People will no longer talk to me like this. I don't care who the fuck you are. That's my minimum standard, including myself. I have to adhere to that standard too, okay? Everyone, including me, cannot talk to me in this way or treat me in this certain way or XYZ. You choose what those standards are. When you start to do that, you then start to become much better at filtering out who you're going to invest your time in and who you're not going to invest your time in. There's a difference between you're going to have to deal with some shit cunts here and there throughout your life because that's just life. We can't only ever deal with good people, versus who I choose to date, who I choose to bring into my inner circle, okay? So when we're talking about intimate relationships, best friends and partners, things like that, you have to really raise the standard of how you're willing to be treated. And unless you can do that for yourself first, you're not going to be able to do that with a relationship. I mean, some people are lucky and they win the lottery and they just fall into the arms of someone who's actually just kind, but you also subject yourself to falling into the arms of someone who's unkind if you're not setting that initial standard. So my answer to you is you need to do all the things around self-respect, around having your own back, really understanding, like teaching people how to treat you. I've got episodes on all of these things. I've got episodes called How to Teach People How to Treat You, resilience, having your own back, all this kind of stuff, because then you still get to see the good in everyone, which is great because you're not being pessimistic and negative, but you're able to be like, you know what? You're funny, you're fun, you're entertaining, you're good, but here are 3 red flags that I've seen before and I'm not interested in. So you don't have to erase that trait within you. You just have to elevate your ability to look for the entire spectrum of things that someone has to offer when you meet them. Okay? And I feel like for you, the reason you keep falling into these things is because you think that you need these relationships. If you feel like you need these relationships, then you are going to settle for less. Okay? It's about like, what is your best alternative? If your life is so good being single, like you respect yourself, you've got great relationships, you've got a good routine, you love, how you feel within yourself, you like the progress that you're making, there's all these things that are going really well for you, you like your own company, you like how you spend your spare time, all of that, then you're not going to be like, oh my God, I need to date that person who's going to make me feel like shit every single day. No, because your best alternative, your partner, is you alone. You single, not with that person. The more you elevate that, the more you can cut out the shit, the bullshit, the kind of the trash of, how people treat you and what they subject you to and all of that. And, the beauty of that is you'll be able to have great interactions and see the good in people, but be like, I wouldn't fucking date you in a fucking million years, but I can still see that you're a funny person and I can have a really good time interacting with you for this small interaction. Goodbye. Thank you very much. Okay. So please go and look at all those other episodes and see if it kind of like starts, awakening certain realizations within you. Thank you for that.
Hi Alexis, obsessed with your pod and listen to it religiously, and I've titled my voice note, Don't Cry Because It's Over, Smile Because It Happened. So context, I met this guy at the beginning of the year and we absolutely hit it off. We had this crazy chemistry and this incredible connection, this amazing communication, all these green flags, but the one bummer was that he actually didn't live where I was from. Like, he was originally from there, but was working over east at the time and was going to be for the next 6 months. So we kind of both agreed to sort of stay present in each other's lives. I went over and visited him. He came back home to visit me and we hung out and had this most incredible time again. But now that the 6 months has passed, he's been given this opportunity to work elsewhere, which he has taken, which is incredibly exciting for him. But now I'm just a bit like lost, trying to understand, how do you get over something that was never really yours in the first place? And how do you move on when a part of me still feels like there's such a small opportunity that one day he will move back home and we will get to explore something, just not right now. So like, now what? How do I move on with this thought that there's still this person that I know that I had such a great connection with? It just wasn't our time right now. What do I even do? Do I try to move on? Do I not? I don't know. It just feels very foreign right now. So hopefully you can help make sense of this. Love you. Bye.
Great question. Hard position that you're in. Absolutely. It's so fucking hard because you can't really control your emotions. And even though logically you're like, I knew that this was never going to be a thing or never going to be mine, you can't help how you feel. And when you have a legitimate connection with someone, that's really fucking hard. So yeah, I acknowledge that. There are many ways that you can kind of look into it. You said, should I try and work through it? Should I try and get over it? If there's just a slim chance that he moves back, or that this person moves back home and you can have something in the future, that may be the case, but I don't think that should stop you from trying to move forward and move on with your life. Because one thing that I don't think anyone should ever do is put their life on hold for somebody else, especially when the chances are really slim. This is very different to a long distance relationship where you're both fully committed and the one person has to go away for a year for work. That's a different story. This is like, I don't even know if they're going to come back. I don't even know if we'd ever have an opportunity in the future together. So do you hold out and wait? No, you don't. Okay. Because then with that will come limerence, in the sense that you then start, if you wait for someone, especially when there's a slim chance, you start hoping, you then start creating these realities of what your future could be with this person that haven't actually happened and don't actually exist. So you end up falling even more deeply, like in love, or more like a fixation or a limerent fixation with this person, because you're there like playing all these movies in your head, falling deeper and deeper and deeper, falling in love with the potential. Okay. That's really dangerous place to be in, because that can leave you stuck in this despair and heartbreak and absolute like deep love for someone that's not even there in your life anymore. Okay. But it feels like they're there in your life because you're replaying what could have been again and again and again. So we need to snap out of that. Okay. If this person moves back in the future, in a couple of years, and you rekindle things and it's amazing, that's two whole new people, a brand new relationship. So if that happens, you're looking at that not as, oh, we got back together. You're going to be a brand new person by then, because I want you to be always focusing on growing who you are, on expanding who you are, on evolving and on changing. So instead of looking at, I'm going to put my life on hold and hope that something comes out of this in the future, I want you to look at this as, look at what all this has taught me and how it's going to help me proceed further in my life. You know, act as if it's not going to happen. Okay? Because hope, when it comes to relationships, is a weak dog. I'm sorry. When it comes to breakups, not relationships, but breakups, hope is a weak dog, because you sit there hoping, not doing any of the work to heal yourself, to move forward in the healthiest way possible, to really feel like you've healed and you can meet other people, or you can be happy alone and all these things. Hope blocks you from doing that in a breakup, hoping that they'll come back, hoping that things will change, hoping that one day, hope. You're kind of just sitting there waiting, playing a waiting game. You're wasting your time, okay? Also, I don't like focusing on timing. Timing wasn't right. It was the right timing. It wasn't time. What you have right now is today. That's all you've got. You've got today, and that's what we're working with. So you also don't want to get stuck in that trap of wasting time because you're banging on about the importance of timing, okay? All we can control is ourselves and our own actions and behaviors. So what are you going to do with that now? I would look at this and say, what I had with this person served as a great teacher, because it gave me a really healthy relationship. I'll be forever grateful for them, forever grateful. It also served as an example of what is available for me. That kind of love, if it found me once, it can find me again. I am responsible for at least 50% of what I experienced in that relationship. I brought a lot to the table. It wasn't just this person. I brought a lot of like intimacy and warmth and humor, and so much of that relationship was thanks to me as well. So I am capable of also creating something similar like that in its own unique way, of course, in the future. And I'm really grateful. I had this experience, because it showed me the kind of love that I would want for myself in the future. You know, so then instead of closing yourself off, you start opening yourself up. You start thinking, that's really beautiful. That's the love that I want. Thank you for showing me the kind of love that I want. I've had other loves in the past, but for the first time, I was able to experience something really healthy, just fucking vibes, a good, respectful person who treated me well. Like, this is epic. And this has shown me that. And I'll forever be grateful. I don't have to forever love them or be in love with them. I'm forever grateful. So how do I move on from that? Well, number one, we've started with acknowledging that it's, a positive thing. It doesn't have to be something that I ignore. But then you've got to ask yourself, how am I now filling the void? Because when there's a breakup, especially when someone leaves you and leaves, your city or your country or whatever, excuse me, you then have a void, okay? And if you're not filling that void up, that's where you can start to spiral, and that's where you start to it fills yourself with thoughts of like, oh my God, I'm never going to get anything like this. They're missing in my life. There's a void in my life. So I want you to really focus on the times that you would be hanging out with this person, or the times that you had like romanticized all these things. What can we fill this void with that's going to feel really, healthy for our soul? So it's not sitting on the couch and fucking doom scrolling, but it's going to be things like, getting together with your friends and doing certain things, or going away for the day, or going to have a sleepover at your cousin's, or going to like doing new things. Maybe you can start a brand new hobby. Maybe you can start something that you're like, this is like a line in the sand and it's something completely different for me. Maybe you're like, you know what, my fucking fashion needs an overhaul. I want a completely different style. Things that help draw a line in the sand between the old you and the new you, where you kind of refresh yourself, whether it's physically, whether it's just psychologically, whether it's in your habits. You have a bit of a revamp, a refresh. Those are really great ways of filling in that void of someone leaving, and also drawing a line in the sand between the me when I was with this person and now the me that's evolving since this relationship, whether it's a healthy relationship or whether it's an unhealthy relationship. This is why people dye their hair or get their hair chopped off after a breakup. Brilliant. If you're one of those people, yes, because you're saying, I'm trying to change. I need something that's going to be a shift, even if it's superficial, a shift in my identity that's going to make me feel like I'm taking control of my life again. So if you want to go cut your hair, fucking cut your hair, get blue eyelashes, do what it takes. But I'm saying that you need to now do a major shift in things that as long as it's meaningful to you, doesn't matter if other people think it's meaningful. And that's going to help you like lean into this new identity, and you take the good with you. So you take what this person brought into your life and you're grateful for it. And you're like, I now know exactly the kind of love that I want to find. And that love can exist in many different forms. So it might be in someone else. And I'm not holding on to the fact that this person can come into my future, because if they come into the future, I'm a new person, they're a new person, it'll be a brand new relationship. So I'm not banking on that. Okay. Hopefully that helped. Thank you for sending in that voice message. All right, we've got time for one more question.
Hi, Alexis. So I have a question about challenging one's introverted self. For context, I'm doing a program at work, which is all about connecting with ourselves and understanding our own habits and trying to break them. And we've been given a project, and it's to do with us personally, based on like quizzes we've done about our personalities, etc. And I'm more of an introverted person. I can find like larger social settings overwhelming. So we haven't decided on a project for me, but I just know it's going to be something to do with that. And we're kind of trying to figure out what I could do to challenge this. And yeah, I was wondering if you had any tips for someone who is more introverted to try and target this. I was thinking maybe things like rejection therapy, nothing too crazy. And then also things like maybe joining a group like by myself, which makes me really anxious, but that could be something possibly. But I was wondering if you had any other ideas for someone trying to challenge that part of them and becoming more open to engaging with people they don't know and bigger groups of people, and how to support this and just build that self-confidence.
Okay, this is a really good question. However, I do want to preface this whole piece of advice with there is a difference between an introvert who's just happy being introverted versus someone who feels like part of the reason why they are not so social is due to a bit of social anxiety, okay? And the reason I raise this is because I don't want to throw shade on your company or whatever but it pisses me off when companies do these fucking personality tests. Oh, we're going to do a fucking personality test and we're going to tell, like, you're not a fucking psychiatrist. Shut the fuck up. And these personality tests Like for the most part, there's not that much validity behind most personality tests that exist out there. And even when the personality test is done, what are they saying? Like they hired you because you're qualified for the job, okay? So before I go into it, because I actually feel like there might be a bit of social anxiety going on that you do want to address, which is great. But if there is the chance that you're like, okay, my workplace determined that I'm an introvert, and so now we're trying to figure out ways that I can be less introverted. Why? What's wrong with being an introvert? Many introverts are very, very satisfied in their life being an introvert. They just don't like big group settings, but it doesn't mean that they're disconnected. It doesn't mean that they're shy. It doesn't mean that they lack confidence. Most introverts are actually extremely confident, because sometimes more confident, because they're like, not interested, don't want to hang out with you, don't want to be like, they can really speak for themselves and decide what it is that they want and what they don't want. And they're just uncomfortable in big group settings. It's not a flaw in your character if you are a comfortable introvert, okay? So if that is you, you don't have to change, and your workplace shouldn't make you change, because that's fucking bullshit, because they're glorifying extroversion when there's many, many roles and situations in life where extroversion is absolutely not needed, okay? So that's that. I just wanted to address that. The second thing is, if you are like, okay, how do I actually do this? Because I'm interested. Great, let's talk about that. So if you're like, okay, I find myself, not only getting drained in social settings, but I find myself kind of getting a bit lost, or not really being able to deal in a social setting where there's many people, where it's, like a gathering or whatever. How do I approach this? You mentioned rejection therapy, and it is so good. There's a page that I follow on Instagram, and I shared it on my stories just the other day. I can't remember the name of it. But it's this guy, he's a Kiwi, and he goes around, and it's like day 165 of trying to get rejected. So he's fully doing this rejection therapy. And what it's made him realize is that probably out of all these days, he's probably only been rejected maybe 10 of the 165 days that he's done so far, And little things like he'll watch someone like learning how to skim a pebble on a lake. So he just goes up to this person. He's like, hey, I've never done that before. Do you mind teaching me how to do that? Straight away, the person's like, yeah, absolutely. So you got to find a flat rock, and and instantly they're talking. He approaches someone. He's like, hey, I've never fished before. Could you teach me how to fish? This person's eyes light up and really goes in depth on how to teaching this person how to fish. He goes up to someone at like a backpackers or something and be like, do you want to play like bingo with me? And they're like, okay. So it's like, you can make this whatever you want. When we talk about rejection therapy, you can scale it how you want. You can really ask for like really intense things, or you could go for a lot more like low key things, like going up to someone and saying, I was just wondering what perfume you're wearing because it smells really beautiful. And it like, you just, you walked past and I thought, wow, that person smells so beautiful. And they can turn around and ignore you, or they could say, yeah, I'm wearing whatever, the best ways to do rejection therapy is to ask someone to do something for you, not just a question. The question is entry level good, because it gets you entering that comfortability of just approaching a stranger, just having a very basic interaction with them. Once you're able to ask a basic question to someone, just off the street. I'm not talking about someone that you already have to interact with, because it could be your barista, but you're paying them. Like, obviously you have to have this interaction. So making it a little bit harder is approaching an absolute stranger and asking them a basic question, or just even giving them a compliment. The next level up is asking someone to do something for you, whether it is, do you want to interact with me? Is it possible for you to teach me this thing? Could I ask you to, mind this for me just for 5 minutes? Could I, asking them certain things? Could you help me lift this over here, please? Little things like that. So would I recommend doing rejection therapy? 100%. It is such a great thing, because the point of rejection therapy, it's twofold. Number one, it teaches you that there's actually way less people that are going to reject you than you think. So it actually paints a much better picture of like society as a whole, and it makes you feel a lot more comfortable interacting with people. And then it also teaches you that the times that you are rejected, it's almost never personal. someone either is just in their own world, they're in their own zone, or they themselves are really timid and they don't want to interact. No, thank you, and whatever, but it's rarely a horrible event. Rarely, if ever, is rejection a horrible event by a total stranger. So even the times you get rejected, you learn that it's not the end of the world. You actually are fine. The most that occurs is that you might initially walk away being like, oh, shame, embarrassment, oh my God. But then you get over it very quickly because that interaction was actually relatively peaceful and it was fine. So rejection therapy teaches you a lot. So I would 100% do that. And if it's a project that you have to report back to with your workplace, you can say that. You could say, as far as being an introvert, and this might not be the case, so if I can only say this if you align with it, but you could say, as far as being an introvert, I actually don't mind being an introvert. However, I notice that I do have a little bit of social anxiety, and that is something that I would like to work on. Just dealing with, people that I don't often deal with. It gives me more confidence when I'm speaking to an absolute stranger. So what I want to start doing is rejection therapy, and maybe every single day or 3 times a week, I'm going to approach an absolute stranger and ask them to either teach me something, to help me with something, or to, even just compliment them. Okay. So that's what I would recommend. But yeah, please don't think that there's anything wrong with being an introvert at all. Don't let your workplace tell you that either, because an introvert can also get up on a stage and talk to 100,000 people if they want to. An introvert just means that you are drained in social settings and your batteries are charged in solitude or in smaller settings or more intimate groups, whereas an extrovert gets their batteries charged when they're, and they feel great. And, whereas an introvert's like, get me the fuck out of here. I'm done. I'm done. I need to get the fuck out of here. But it doesn't mean that they're not confident, that they're not happy within themselves. None of that. Okay. Guys, thanks so much for tuning in to the Headnoise episode of today. That was fun. Loved your questions. As always, remember, be kind to yourself, be kind to your brain. Don't take shit from anyone, and especially don't take shit from yourself. Danke!